I'm 26 years old, and I got first elected in 2022 when I was 23 years old, the youngest female ever elected in the state of Maine.
You're young, you're conservative, you're taking the state of Maine by storm. I love it. This is amazing. You got a bright future and appreciate what you're doing. So thanks for being here. Tell us a little about yourself and what you're doing.
Well, first of all, thank you so much. It's an honor and pleasure to be on with you. I'm 26 years old, and I got first elected in 2022 when I was 23 years old, the youngest female ever elected in the state of Maine. So made history.
Amazing. Congratulations.
It was one of the only 4 House districts in the entire state of Maine that flipped from blue to red. Wow. So we came pretty close last election. Long story short, my district's on the coast of Maine. I have 4.5 towns, and coast of Maine's typically a little bit more liberal.
Okay.
So it's about
the
a third.
Hippies, the surfers.
Oh,
right?
I have a lot of hippies in my district, kind of
yeah.
classical, Democrats, Kennedy, Reagan era kind of Democrats, and it's only about a third Republican.
Okay.
So it's kind of the quintessential swing district in the state of Maine.
Wow.
Most districts in Maine are either hard blue or hard red. There's very few actual swing ones. It was an open seat at that point because the former Democrat stepped down. It's traditionally a Democrat seat. And the House Republicans had picked a hand-picked person from my town of Winterport, which is the biggest town in the district. And he had a very impressive resume. Veteran, had a large business in Vermont, very successful on the town council in Winterport.
Wow.
Very impressive resume, but he was basically a socialist. He was a Bernie bro. He liked universal housing, healthcare.
In the Republican Party.
He was their pick candidate, and I saw him on the ballot, and I said, there's no way I can vote for him. Maybe there's other people who feel the same way. I have no idea what I'm doing, but the Lord's prompted me to run. I'm going to jump in. I just graduated from college, didn't know what I was doing, but took it on faith that this was the direction he was opening the door for. And I ended up knocking about 1,000 doors in the primary and beat him by 74% in the primary.
74? Holy cow.
So then I went on to,
kicking.
it was a butt kicking, and he went around town thinking, who's this little girl running for office? She's a joke. And I'm like, well, you're the joke now. I beat you by 74%.
Oh my gosh, that's incredible.
It was amazing. It was, honestly, God worked in amazing ways, and that opened a lot of doors and ended up flipping that seat.
Yeah.
So this time around, ran for re-election, and the Democrats decided they didn't like a young conservative Christian who's not afraid to speak her values in office anymore, and they threw in that former Democrat against me to run for re-election. He's a hometown boy. Everyone knows him. Big union guy.
Sure.
He's the head of the Maine Labor Climate Council in Maine, the policy director. He had a ton of money.
Yeah.
And I had me and my fundraising and grassroots effort. And in the House races in Maine are about 9,000 people per district.
Okay.
So very small. And they spent over $140,000 against me, and I tripled my numbers from last time.
Wow.
Against their handpicked person. Honestly, just God's confirmation. This is the path. It doesn't make sense. Not anything I ever expected in life, but here we are.
That's amazing, Reagan.
Amazing.
What a powerful testimony.
Yeah.
When God opens the door, no man's going to be able to shut it.
Absolutely not.
Right? And that's fantastic. You went to Liberty University.
I did.
I was just out there speaking at the National Association of Christian Lawmakers a few weeks ago. Beautiful campus.
It's amazing.
Great school. Love what Liberty's doing. Did you have a sense that you were going to go into politics, like at Liberty, or was it literally the Lord just said, "Hey, you're doing this," and you're like, what's happening?
Honestly, in college, it was never on my radar.
Okay.
I graduated in 2020. And it was right around the COVID era in Maine. And I just graduated with a digital marketing and entrepreneurship degree. So I was thinking of starting my own business, heading out, kind of charting my own course, kind of following steps of my family, all entrepreneurs. But I got really convicted about what was going on in my state during the COVID era because we had draconian lockdowns.
Yeah,
people
it was
focused
bad.
on Gretchen Whitmer and New York, and Maine kind of got left behind.
And Maine is a Republican-controlled legislature, right?
It is not.
It's not, okay.
It was a Democrat trifecta.
Was it? Okay, all right, okay.
Yeah, and so our governor ended up shutting down our Maine legislature and kind of ruled as a queen for years.
Wow.
And she shut down the churches, she shut down schools.
Did she leave abortion clinics open?
Oh, absolutely.
Oh,
Those are
my
the
gosh.
essentials.
We did the same thing in Indiana.
Yeah.
And we were Republican.
Well,
and
there's a lot of similarities.
It's just, I was looking around at not just Democrats, but the Republicans. I'm like, what are you guys doing? Like, do you not know the Constitution? Do you not know the oath that you take to uphold this thing that says you can't do what you're doing right now? And yet they did it anyway.
Well, I think most people who take notes of the Constitution never read it.
That's
so I think
great
there's
point.
something there.
Yeah.
But really, I got involved in politics back in that time because there was a lot of Reopen Maine rallies down in Augusta and our capital.
Yeah.
I mean, I had an '04 Chevy with my American flag in the back saying taxation is theft on the back. I'm going around. Like, I was part of that. And they ended up having me be a youth speaker at one of the events, and I ended up talking to a couple of the sitting legislators. And they said, oh my word, you have the right principles, you're young, your name is Reagan Paul, for crying out loud. You have
seriously.
2 Republican names, you're perfect for office. And I just said, not something I think the Lord's laying on my heart right now. I'm young, maybe when I'm older, have a family, I'm more established, maybe. But the Lord kept knocking on the door of my heart, kept going to different grassroots events. And I just remember being at one grassroots event in a church down in southern Maine, actually. And it's funny because there's a legislator who'd been bugging me for months, trying to get me to run, but just commit to it. His name was Sherm Hutchins. And he gave me a hug on the way in to the event, and he said, you're going to run for office? And I said, oh, no, Sherm, let it go. I'm not running right now. Let it go. And in the midst of that meeting, I just felt a holy conviction pour down on me, saying, Reagan, I know this is new for you, but take it on faith. I'm going to help you fill in your many gaps that you have. Just trust me in this. Awesome. And I just said, okay, Lord, I surrender. Here I am. Let's do it. And on the way out, I saw Sherm again. And he's like, you run for office? And I said, yes, I am. And he almost fell backwards. He's like, finally, after months, you're running.
He's like, so my prayers have been answered.
Absolutely. It was the Lord that had to knock on the door of my very hard head sometimes.
That's
and
awesome.
Do that. So it was amazing.
So you're in office now for what? 3 years?
This is my 3rd year.
Okay, so 3rd year. What have you learned? How do you stand for Christian conservative values in a state like Maine? You get labeled same thing. I get labeled Christian nationalist, which I say I love Christ, I love my nation, so sue me, right?
That's what I say.
Yep. And so in Indiana though, I mean, we are the majority. We have a supermajority Republican. Most Republicans will call themselves conservatives in Indiana just because it's kind of the cool thing to do, right? Maine, very different, right? You are really kind of more on an island, and we don't always know that world in Indiana. So I have a lot of respect for the people like you who are really, like, you don't have much to gain by saying you are a Christian conservative in Maine, and you got a lot to lose, actually.
You do?
Yeah, so what's it been like now 3 years in, working with legislative, peers and counterparts, and,
That's a loaded question.
Yeah.
Let me see I go through that. Honestly, it's not been difficult for me to stand up for my convictions. I said to people from the beginning that the Lord confirmed this is the door He's opening for me right now, and I don't have to deny Him by omission or overtly His principles and His values in order to maintain my seat.
Yeah.
Re-election's not a concern for me.
Great.
I will leave when God says leave, and I'll stay, and if He says stay.
Yeah.
And again, I always say to people, I have 3 C's. I'm a Christian, constitutional conservative, and my loyalty is to one. He is my ultimate authority. It's not the Republican Party.
Yeah.
It's not even my constituents in District 37.
Yeah.
Ultimately, I have a higher authority to respect and appeal to, and I'm never going to vote for something that goes against my Christian values or my constitutional oath, because that means something to me.
And you know the Constitution.
I do.
Because you studied it. I teach the Constitution, so I study it and teach it, and it's amazing. You said it earlier. Most elected officials have no idea. If you even ask them how many articles are in the Constitution, they'll be like,
No.
articles? Like,
No, they'll say,
what?
separation church and state. I'm like, show me where that is in the
I love
Constitution.
doing that.
Let's have that debate.
I feel like I'm speaking to myself here, Reagan. Like, this is crazy. And so do you do a lot with organizations like Turning Point USA, or are you, because you got the youth voice, right? And I know Charlie, and we work with Charlie a little bit, and they're doing some great things on getting that youth vote, and the voice back in America, right? And
Absolutely.
so how are you seeing, again, I know we've got some legislative questions, but how are you bringing in the next generation, kind of like a TPUSA is doing in Maine? Is it working there? Is it?
We have a newer TPUSA chapter down in Waterville, Maine, it's about an hour south of me, and they're doing amazing things. They're actually having a great effort recruiting. A lot of the Republican Party, our staffers are trying to recruit younger people to get them involved. Directly, I just try to, again, do videos on my social media and try to interact with people in person and show that you can be young and run for office. You don't have to have everything figured out because, shocker, even the older people who've been there for 30 years don't know everything either if they like to pretend that they do.
It's like the emperor has no clothes, right?
Exactly. Again, if you know exactly what you believe and why, you're not going to be shaken from that.
Yeah.
And I think that's what we need. They ask me all the time, how do we get younger people involved? And I think that's a larger question, not just going after younger candidates, because for a lot of people in my generation, you don't want an office. They don't have the principles. They've been indoctrinated by the publics or really the industrial complex of the schools.
Yeah, totally.
I mean, absolutely. And they don't have the principles or understand what makes America special, what it means to be American, or that we are a Judeo-Christian nation. We have founding principles we need to abide by. And I think it's a larger issue of education to get them wanting to be involved in government in the first place, because if you're taught from age 4 to 18 that your country's horrible, it's racist, why would you ever want anything to do with it and be involved? And I also think there's an education piece of we're a constitutional republic. Again, whenever people say democracy, I want to fight them.
It drives me crazy. I'm just like,
we are a constitutional republic. I mean, that's what we pledge allegiance. And I think a lot of people think that the president is the most important thing. That's what we should be focusing on, and it absolutely matters. But in a republic, what's closest to you actually matters the most.
That's right.
So even starting small, running for your school board, running for dog catcher, whatever it is, kind of putting your foot in there, because the people who don't want the power I actually think are the best people who want to be there.
That's right. I saw in COVID, one of the most, and I still believe it is the most important office we could ever vote for, is the sheriff.
Absolutely.
And we saw counties that had good sheriffs, protected liberty of the people. Absolutely. Counties that had bad sheriffs allowed tyranny to run, roughshod over their citizens. And so I think that was, a great real-time case study of the government that governs best is the government that governs least, but it's also the government that governs closest to you.
Absolutely.
Right? And so that's great. We focus a lot on Washington. Well, okay, Washington's important, but I would argue it's not as important as local government. And most people, how many times, I ask pastors this, that the Bible commands us to pray for our leaders. Okay, tell me your city council members by name, right?
Absolutely.
Tell me your mayor by name. Tell me your school board members by name. And a lot of times they can't do that.
Admittedly, I'm ashamed to say this, but when I ran for office the first time, I didn't even know who I was running against.
Yeah.
Because at that point, I later found out he had stepped down. But I mean, I would consider myself informed and invested, understanding that there is a role for Christians in government. But I didn't even really focus on the local level. I couldn't tell you who my state rep was, who my state senator was. I just couldn't. So for me, I can blame others, but I was guilty of the same thing. And I think that's
we're all ignorant at some point.
Absolutely.
Right? We've all got to learn.
But I think when you recognize that there's gaps and you have that hunger and that knowledge and want to know what's going on in your area, I think that matters, because I think reaching out to your local rep is important too. Because a lot of times I think they just think they get elected and they forget about their district back at home, and that's just not the case.
So when it comes to Maine, Democrat trifecta still.
Yes.
Right? Okay. Why?
That is a big question.
I mean, the Democrats are going so far off the cliff of crazy. I mean, they're literally pushing things like boys can be girls and girls can be boys.
Yes.
To your point earlier, you said there's a lot of old school Democrats, Kennedy-type Democrats, but even those Democrats are leaving the Democrat Party because they're like, we're not communists, right? I mean, JFK fought against the communists. Now his party wants to be the communists, right? And so how is it that Maine is still kind of in this, place of, well, we're still Democrats, and you guys know what your party is espousing these days? And 9 times out of 10 they don't. But yeah, why is that happening in Maine? What can you do to make it a red state?
Well, a lot of people, when they think of the state of Maine, either they forget we're a state in general, or they think we're just a blue island and there's no hope. I really believe, truly, in the deep part of my bones, that there are no blue states in the nation. There are red states with blue cities and population.
I think that's right.
And that's how it is with Maine. There's really kind of 3 population centers, and they kind of rule the state. There's very left-leaning and very progressive. What people don't realize, this past election cycle, we actually almost won the state of representatives in Maine, but we only need 3 more seats by a difference of 60 votes. We could have been in control of the House.
60 votes.
And we only need 3 seats in the Maine Senate to be the Republican Senate.
Wow.
So we are a lot closer than people think we are, so it makes it even a little bit more frustrating. Like, what could we have done better to get the extra 60 votes? I think there's a lot of ways and rabbit trails we could go down, but I think there's apathy. Maine is a fiercely independent, rural kind of state. People don't like being told what to do. I think they've been very disenfranchised by politicians in the past, and a lot of politicians get in there for their own self-advancement and use it as a ladder to run for Congress or governor and leave the people behind, or not man or woman of their word, and that breaks trust. And if people feel like they can't trust you, I don't think they're going to invest in you.
Yeah. And
that's why I was very careful during my election to be very careful with my words and never break a promise. And even if I said things they didn't agree with, I want people to know they can trust me and know where my values are, and I'm never going to sway from them. and people respected that, even if they didn't agree with it. I also think spiritually, we're a very unchurched state. We are the most unchurched state in the nation.
The Northeast is called the frozen chosen.
It is, and if you look at the history of Maine, when we were a Bible-believing state forever. You just see what happens, as centuries go by. But I think we're a very unchurched state, very dark, even among the Republican Party.
Yeah.
That's why a lot of the social policies we even try to do in Maine, we can't even get the Republicans to unite on those. So I think until we value truth and know where truth comes from and know what our actual identities are in Him, I think we're going to have a hard time making that connection, because a lot of people think that there's a sacred and secular divide. Yeah. I think everything is sacred, because the rights we're fighting for, the abortion issue, transgenderism, even taxes, those are biblical issues.
Biblical issues,
They are, and I think
border sovereignty, biblical.
They are, and I also think Satan has done a great job in convincing the church that they don't have a place in politics, and that the biblical issues they've labeled political ones to keep the church separated. I think that gap, we're seeing what happens when the church removes its influence from places of power in civil government.
Again, I feel like I'm speaking to myself here. This is amazing. I mean, you are spot on. And Republicans in parties all across the nation have to remember that our rights come from God.
Absolutely.
It wasn't some, God that we didn't know. It wasn't some, God of a foreign religion. It was a God of the Judeo-Christian ethic.
Absolutely.
And I think states like Maine, the Republicans have to go back to that truth, because freedom, we know, comes from God. And John 8:32 says, you will know the truth, and the truth will set you free. So if the Republicans are the party of truth, but they don't even know where that truth comes from, they're not going to be passionate or good at defending freedom.
Absolutely.
And so, I love what you're doing. I think the goal has got to be to get the Republicans back in right alignment with understanding who this God is.
Absolutely.
And then I think you'll start to see the people of Maine start following the Republicans, because people know truth when they see it or when they hear it, and they also know lies sometimes when they see, like, it's the devil's not really cloaking his lies very well these days. I mean, it's like, hey, young lady, you can be a boy if you like to be. I mean, that's a lie. It's a pretty easy lie to spot, but yet that's the lie that is being told, and people are just buying it hook, line, and sinker.
Absolutely.
You're doing an incredible job.
Thank you.
And right, so your name named after Ronald Reagan.
Yes.
And then, are you related to Rand Paul?
I hope so.
Okay.
I don't know, but that would be amazing.
That would be awesome. I mean, you're gonna be president someday. I think that's pretty safe to say. So, and keep up the great work.
Thank you.
If people want to find out more about you, contact you, where can they go?
Yep. So I have a Facebook page, Representative Reagan Paul, and I'm on X at Rep Reagan Paul.
I love it. Well, Reagan, thank you so much. You are really an encouragement to me, to the state of Indiana, and we're going to be watching Maine and your leadership as God opens doors.
Thank you. Pleasure to be on.
Thanks.
Thank you.